It's always about politics and people. Always. Everything is about politics and people. Everything. I was very fortunate, actually extremely fortunate, very early in my career, at around the age of 23, to have a manager, Jack, who took me aside one day when I was getting internally blocked on a project, which I was working on, and to be honest, increasingly frustrated by that internal blocking. And I kept thinking to myself, maybe I had voiced it to him as well, how can this not be fixed? How can this process be so manual? I mean, I can automate that in a week. I've written numerous software before. I'll even do it at home, after work, on the weekend. I'm not going to charge anyone, but I don't want to be doing this manual process anymore when it can be automated and be done with. Well, why isn't it? And Jack had taken me aside and said, look, James, let me tell you what my mentor Chet told me many years ago. Chet said, Jack, all problems are one of three things. They're either financial, technological, or political, in theory. But in reality, they're always political. Always political. So why is that? Well, if it's financial, there's always cash somewhere, or the ability to get it. If it's technological, there's always a workaround, there's a new innovation, a new technique, a new process. There's some genius or some know-it-all sitting around somewhere waiting to be called. In fact, that person, he or she may have already proposed the solution, but again, they were internally blocked by politics. This is the same thing with finance, being blocked by politics. Sometimes it's through regulatory capture. We see this with the SEC. Why couldn't the entrepreneurs get funding 5-10 years ago? Why can't they just go down the street with a sandwich board and collect money? Got to get them from accredited investors. You have other liability thanks to those politics. So once you understand that it's never really financial, it's never really technological, then it leaves one other item, which is politics. And it's always political. Why? Because of people. People create politics and problems for any number of reasons, but it depends on incentives and disincentives. And as consultants and as company employees, hopefully, we're going to get paid to solve these problems, to avoid them and to solve them. So what skills are needed, or how does one do that? Well, at first I would say it starts with understanding and developing EQ as a foundational start. Just to understand emotions of others and control your own. But that's only the beginning. It's learning about and mastering organizational power dynamics, developing the ability to logically analyze issues and critically make critical decisions, clearly. But think of those also in terms of human impact and pushback, and then communicate those logical solutions, always in emotional terms. So your internal thinking mechanism or decision-making mechanism is logical, should be. However, the way you communicate it will always be emotional. Humans are emotional beings. This then entails, of course, a mastery of negotiating, influencing, persuasion, and sales skills. And examples of that would be, the iPhone. We talk about this all the time. Certainly someone had a smartphone at Nokia and other handset makers, but due to disincentives, office politics, etc., it's going to be blocked. It's very common in all types of industries. And this is why, by the way, we talk about this in the other segments and other training that we have on like creativity and innovation. It's really a fallacy to say that necessity is the mother of all invention. Far from it. Usually necessity is the mother of all invention only because it removes office politics. If you're at war and it's your culture lives or dies, or your people get enslaved, pretty soon a lot of this internal blocking and gamesmanship goes away quite quickly. Not always, but usually it does, because you can swipe people away and there's a heavy price to pay if it fails. So that's what opens a lot of these items up. Now, all we need to do, though, is remember that whenever there's a problem, look to politics and people first. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. This program has been a presentation of SiliconEdge. SiliconEdge is personalized innovation for your competitive edge. Innovate, communicate, transform. Only at silicon-edge.com.